How many of you remember being read to as a child? Recall that feeling of being lost in the story and ask your parents to please read one more story before you go to bed. Many people lose that love of reading throughout their life. They find it becomes boring, or it becomes frustrating, or it's forced upon them by teachers or parents. Well, that's a pretty common thing, and I saw it a lot with my students while I was student teaching, that dislike and disdain for reading. I myself have never experienced that, as I've been an avid reader since I was little, but I do know the benefits of reading, and through my education courses, I've also learned about why it's so important and additional benefits that reading provides for you throughout your lifetime. I'm going to prove to you today that reading has real benefits for your everyday life and for your future. First, I will talk about a couple areas in your life where you might want to see some improvement, how reading will help you improve in those areas, and then finally visualize what your life could be like as a reader. So let's crack open this story and get started. First, there's two things on every college student's mind: getting a job and managing their daily stress. Now, getting a job isn't just when we're done with school. It's happening now, before we even graduate. Most students need to get an internship for their major or have a part-time job to help pay for their schooling. And in order to get those jobs and internships, we need to develop certain skills. Soft skills are something that everyone needs to develop in order to make themselves more marketable as an employee. Soft skills are desirable qualities for certain forms of employment that do not depend on acquired knowledge. They are common sense, the ability to deal with people, and a positive, flexible attitude. And that's as defined by the Collins English Dictionary in a 2012 entry on dictionary.com. And research done by LinkedIn found that hiring managers are having trouble finding employees with the right soft skills for 59% of their open jobs, and that's as reported by the 10 most in-demand soft skills on Business News Daily by Chad Brooks in 2016. Soft skills are things that are transferable. It doesn't matter what your occupation is. If you eventually change your occupation, they're still going to be needed, whatever your job is. They fall into two categories. The first is communication skills, both verbal and written. The second is interpersonal skills, so being able to relate to people. You need to develop and refine those skills during your time here at college in order to make yourself a good employee. Now, the other side of this equation was stress, and many college students are concerned about their stress levels and working to reduce them. Recent statistics, according to Megan Reed in her 2015 article in the online edition of the USA Today, Stress in College, Experts Provide Tips to Cope, states that more than 85% of college students feel overwhelmed by the expectations and assignments given to them in college. And 3 out of every 10 students feel like their learning and achievement in college has been negatively affected by these high stress levels. To add to that, college students are feeling more stressed today than ever before, according to a Stanford Daily News article by Joanne Wu, Rising Stress Levels and Alarm Health Educators on the American Institute of Stress website in 2000. This is due to the high pressure to get better and better grades and to balance school and work, as many more students are having to have part-time jobs to supplement their education, so they're having to balance between high expectations in the classroom and long hours at work. To even multiply this even more, technology, according to Joanne Wu, increases the amount of stress that students feel today. Students always feel like they're on call. They have their cell phones on them all the time, which means they're a phone call, a text, an email away from being reminded of all the work they need to get done that day. And they never really have a break away from classes or extracurriculars or work because they're always able to be contacted. With all this stress piling up, we need to find ways to cope with it, and they need to be cheap because we don't have a lot of money as college students, and they can't take a very long time because we're already spread thin, and it'd be really great if one activity could serve multiple purposes to save even more time. What if there was one way to both reduce your stress levels and gain valuable soft skills? Well, there is. It's reading, which provides professional benefits and reduces your stress level. Before we get into that and how that works, I want to clarify one thing. Reading does not mean reading literary classics. You can, but it doesn't mean you have to. You don't have to sit and read Moby Dick or Jane Austen. You can read a work of fiction. You can read a biography. You can read a magazine. You could even read your textbooks, as long as you're just spending time intentionally reading and diving in and not just reading on the surface. It doesn't also mean that you have to spend hours on end reading. You can read for 15 minutes a day and still be considered a very good reader. as long as you're being intentional and uninterrupted in that time. So now that we've established what reading is, let's move on to talk about some of the benefits that you can feel in your life from becoming a reader. The first is the valuable soft skills that will help you in your future for employment. Your communication skills are improved through reading. In a 2006 National Literacy Trust report by Christina Clark and Kate Rumbold, they state that improved vocabulary happens when you read more. Why is that important for communication skills? It makes your language more precise, which means that you avoid misunderstandings with people in your job field, with your employers, with your employees, which will also help you reduce stress. But it also helps you sound more knowledgeable about a topic, which can help you in the hiring process. If you really sound like you know what you're talking about in an interview, you're more likely to get hired. The other side of this coin is interpersonal skills with that's the other part of soft skills. This is empathy. So empathy is being able to understand the mindset of other people. And according to Raymond Marr, Keith Oatley, and Jordan Peterson, who are all researchers at York University, in a 2009 journal article entitled Exploring the Link Between Reading Fiction and Empathy, people who read, especially fiction, but all readers in general, have a more advanced sense of empathy than non-readers. It's because they're able to dive into the shoes of their characters and people they're reading about in the stories. They understand those people, but they also understand people in their real world who are like those characters they interact with in the story. This helps them with their communication skills as they're able to take on the perspectives of other people, which in today's global job market is even more important as most companies expect you to work with people from various cultures. So that skill of empathy is very important for today's job market. The other side of this coin was managing stress, and reading does help you reduce your stress levels. In a study conducted at the University of Sussex in 2009 by Dr. David Lewis, he found that reading was the most effective way to overcome stress. It beat out old favorites such as listening to music, drinking tea or coffee, and even taking a walk. In that same study done by Dr. Lewis, it took only 6 minutes for people to begin to relax. Their heart rate slowed, their muscles relaxed, and their minds settled. 6 minutes. That's extremely time efficient. And in less than 10 minutes a day, you can fit that into any schedule, no matter how busy you are. And as college students, our schedules are usually filled up with homework. So homework is another way that adds a lot of stress to college students' lives. And a lot of our homework involves reading. So in order to reduce that stress, we need to become better readers. According to the National Literacy Trust report, that the more you read, the better you are at it. So the more often you spend time reading, even outside of your classwork, the better you're able to read those texts. And if you can understand them more and comprehend them, you have to spend less time working on just the comprehension, and you can focus more on the application of that knowledge, both in assignments and on tests, and eventually in your job field. So now, I want you all to close your eyes and imagine what life is going to be like as a reader. You're sitting in a comfy chair. It's a little cold in the room, so you grab a blanket. You're going to pick up a book on the table next to you. It's your favorite story. You could be on a high-speed car chase in the middle of LA, or sitting on a park bench in the warm spring air falling in love. Or maybe you're lying on the bathroom floor with your heart breaking over the loss of a loved one. You're completely engaged in the story. You can feel the stress of your world melting away. You're lost in the characters. But you're being more than entertained by the story. You are gaining valuable life skills. Your vocabulary is growing bigger and bigger, and you're using words such as disheveled and ostentatious in your everyday language. You're now sitting up straight and tall at a job interview. The interview panel is impressed by your eloquent communication, and you are able to articulate how your skills of empathy make you invaluable to their company. You are confident that you will get the job because you have been preparing your mind for years. Now I want you to open your eyes to the reality your life could become if you begin to read every day. Now, most people think that reading isn't important enough to be included in their everyday life, but that's just not the case. Being a reader helps you develop valuable soft skills that make you competitive in today's job market. Being a reader helps you reduce your stress levels, and being a reader is cheap, easy, and takes a very limited amount of time. My challenge for you is to find 15 minutes in your day. 15 minutes somewhere in your day. It could be while you're working out, it could be while you're eating a meal, it could be right before you go to bed. 15 minutes to spend intentionally devoted to reading, and I promise you will see the benefits. I'm going to leave you with a quote by a very well-known man who had an effect on my childhood and I'm sure on yours. He is an authority on the written word and its power to change people. His name is Dr. Seuss. And this is what he has to say about reading. The more you read, the more things you will know. The more you learn, the more places you'll go.